Okay, so good morning, everyone. So today we will see the payroll processes available, and then we will process payroll for these employees whom we have created. And yeah, pretty much we can close the payroll and then we can have a discussion on fast formula clarifications that you have. Okay, so I think yesterday we have processed individual payroll and we have seen these two employees first payroll periods and all. So let's run the payroll in a sequential way. For that, you go to payroll, you go to checklist. Let's try to understand first all the processes and what are their functionality. Then we will run the payroll. Okay, for those people. Then you go to process, submit process and report. So based on the legislation you selected, LDG, the corresponding processes or reports will be available. And remember, if you have developed any custom reports or any extracts, anything technical I'm talking, so those things will be available here to process or to run. That is the reason it says submit a process or report. So technical people, they develop reports, right? They will make it available here in this section. So it's US legislation hour. So once you select US legislation, you see the processes are available. Now here to start with, I will go with the sequential way. First of all, where is this recalculate for retroactive changes is the first process that you run. Yeah, this one. Recalculate payroll for retroactive changes. What this process does. This generally, if you ask me, is it a mandatory process to run every month or every bi-weekly based on the payroll period? I would say no. But if client has any element entries in the previous periods for which the payrolls are already run, then these element entries, they have not been processed in that previous payroll periods. So basically, you have entered element entries now for the previous payroll periods. So meaning these elements have not been processed. So in such scenario, if you run this recalculate payroll for retroactive changes, see the backdated payments will be processed. So when I say elements, not all the elements, only retro elements. Remember when we were creating elements, there is a section that this element is it retroactive? Then I said yes, and then we have selected entries for changes retro group. So once you create the element using this retro, a retro element will be created automatically. That also we have seen, right? When we searched for the element which we have created, along with that element, there was a retro element. So if you wanted to have backdated entries, you are going to enter that element in the previous period and you are going to process. You have to process it, recalculate payroll for retroactive changes. Otherwise, you don't have to run it. The first process that you are going to run is calculate payroll. Calculate payroll. So what does this process run? So here it's going to calculate payroll and it will run the gross to net result. Okay, what is the employee gross salary? What is the employee net salary and all? So let's run it. Okay, calculate payroll. Next, you have to give a name here every time. So calculate payroll. I would say Abstech. Would say the second period, right? Maybe we will give 17th to whatever period that we are going to. Here we are going to select payroll. I will give a name. I will finish the name anyway. What is our payroll? Abstract payroll 1, 2, 3, right? This is the payroll. Now, which period you want it to process? So I think Yeah, because you see, we have already processed for that period, right? We have run individual quick pay for those processes. For February, we have hired. So we have already processed 3rd to 16th for those two people, right? So let me just run for 17th to 1st of March. So meaning this period. So you can say here 17th to 1st. You can just give run one. Like that, you can just give a name, that's it. You don't have to enter process date, all these things. Run type is already regular. Now look at that. Payroll relationship group, element group. These are all not mandatory, but as I said, if you wanted to exclude certain people from this payroll, then you are going to create that payroll relationship group with exclude, and then you select that group here. If you don't want to process any certain elements in the current payroll period, then you are going to create that element group. Remember that object groups, what we have created. So there you are going to create these groups and all. You can exclude. Otherwise, simply payroll name, payroll period, run type, then go to next. You don't have to select anything because you are not going to any scheduler. You are going to run this process. Say submit. Once submit, you can check the result. How to check it? It will pop up a message. Okay, I wanted to view the checklist. Then you see here refresh button, you click it, it auto updates until this is finished. You don't have to worry about that. It will be auto updated. Whenever the status is changed, it is going to be updated automatically. You see that got updated. So when you run this process, we are not processing individual employee salaries. We are processing as a whole. You know, if 1,000 employees are working in the organization, all those 1,000 employee salaries are going to be shown there. I mean, are going to be processed. So it's success. You can go to task here. Okay, look at that. 2 people employee salaries, because 2 people belongs to this payroll, right? So if 1,000 employees are working in the same payroll in same organization, all the 1,000 employees are going to be shown here. You wanted to check, if you wanted to go and check their details, just click on that. You can go and check their results. Okay, their salary calculation for the second period. Yeah, like that. You can check it. Okay, so this is how you are going to process individual employee salaries. You can check what are the standard earnings, you know, all those things. Basically, statement of earnings is nothing but you can even go to here, or you can click here, and then you can check the attachments. You can again roll back in the sense you wanted to cancel, you wanted to roll back this person's payroll. Yes, you can do that. You can mark it, retry, and again retry the result. All these sort of things you can do it. Okay.
Srini, what is the difference between that rollback and reversal?
See, where is this? Yeah. Earlier we used to have this reversal functionality, so where it used to reverse the transactions but not the process. So payroll, he is still part of the payroll, but his whatever calculations happened, they will be reversed. But still, system shows that his payroll is already processed, but calculations are reversed. So I don't see any such scenario comes. So always either you process the salary or you roll back. Rollback is the process also will be rolled back. Nothing is processed for that employee in that period. So yeah, that's what reversal is. But we generally go with rollback. Okay. So this is the payroll process. What it does, it calculates employees' gross salary, net salary, how much we are supposed to pay, how much deductions are there, how much earnings are there, all those sort of things are there. But it is not going to pay. It is not going to say, okay, this is the salary that employee is getting. That's fine. But in this account, the salary is going to be credited. No, that will not be taken care by calculate payroll process. This calculate payroll process only calculates payroll. That's it. Okay. So that's the reason you see here as an action hold, there is no reversal option, only rollback and mark for retry. Then you can go back. Okay. Then the second process is calculate prepayments. Okay, calculate prepayments. What this process does? This process is going to be taken care by distributions, meaning, okay, already my salaries are, already employee salaries have been calculated. Okay, X person is getting 1,000, Y person is getting 2,000, Z person is getting 3,000, like that. Now, this process, this calculate prepayment process will take care about, okay, that 1,000 for X employee, which, how he is going to get it, whether he is going to get through check or through bank transfer. If bank transfer, what is the bank account this salary is going to be credited? So those mapping your salary to your bank or check, which if it is a bank, which bank account, if you have multiple banks, maybe 70% to that bank, 30% of this bank. So those mappings are going to be taken care by calculate. You see, when I run the process, yes, it's going to say, okay, this 10,000 should be credited to so-and-so bank because that employee's personal payment method is a bank. It just matches that. It is not going to credit that amount directly into the bank. System only recognize, okay, this amount should go to that bank. This amount should go to this bank, like that. But that mapping will happen. That's why it says submit a process to calculate payment distributions based on payment types such as cash, check, or electronic fund transfer. Payment distribution is nothing but distributing amount salary pay. So when I run the process, again, the process remains same. We're going to give a name here. Just say run one. Again, you are going to select a payroll. Here it's not asking a period because period is only a payroll. So process start date, process end date. So the process start date is what? February 17th, right? 3 to 16 in the previous period. This is 17th to March 1st. This is the period. Again, you want it to specifically organizational payment and all you want, otherwise you can just ignore that. You can go to next and all, or you can directly submit. Just refresh. Okay, it is done. Then go to task. Okay, two records. Okay, this is the amount that is processed for this employee and that employee, and you wanted to check the details. Click on that, and this amount should go to which bank account, whether it is a bank account or check, based on the payment method this employee has. Because this employee has got a bank transfer method, it shows, okay, this amount should go to bank transfer using this bank account number, because this account number we have entered is employee screen. So yeah, you can, it shows like that. Okay, prepayment process will take care about the mapping between your salary to your bank or check or whatever. See here this employee also we have entered bank account. But its status is unpaid, because you see, as I said, it's not going to be paid directly. It's only says, okay, this particular salary should go to that bank account. Payment is not going to happen automatically with this calculate prepayment process. Depending on the number of employees you have, that much time it will take to process it. Okay, then you have calculate payroll, calculate prepayments. Then you have archive payroll result, periodic payroll result, archive periodic payroll result. I will tell you what the process will take care. And then after you run it, you are going to say where is this? Okay. You can generate pay slips. Then you can say make EFT payment. Make EFT payment is nothing but this will actually pay the salary to the employee. Okay, so I will tell you what happens when you run that process. Then finally you are going to say transfer to subledger accounting. This is the final process. So let me run first the archive periodic payroll results. What this process will take care? This will archive payroll results which will be used for reporting purpose. So payroll is processed, fine. So an individual employee salary is processed. Maybe I have 2 bank accounts, you have 1 bank account. Accordingly, it is going to be mapped and all. But this process will archive. So you have to archive any payroll run results for the reporting purpose if you wanted to generate any reports. And payslip is also kind of a report, right? It's also a report, but individual employee report. So in order to generate the payslip, it is mandatory to run this process, archive periodic payroll results. So again, you run it. Feb 20 run 1 for which payroll? Again, what is the period start date, period end date? February 17th to March 1st. Then you can go to next or you can submit it. Done. And go to task. Yeah, it's completed. And just click on archived information is this much information is archived. So nothing will be there because it's only just archive thing, that's all. So you can just click on that. It gives you certain information. What are all information is archived. So payroll information, employee information, all these things. Then once again you go there. Then you can generate pay slips. Again, just a heads up, generate pay slips may or may not work in this environment because as I said, this is a testing environment. People used to modify the reports, modify the standard this thing and all. Generally what happens to generate payslip, Oracle has delivered a format for payslip, but it is always not your client will not go with Oracle standard payslip every time. They will have their own payslip format, and they will ask us to generate it, develop it. So usually what we will do is we create our own, client specific payroll payslip report, and then we will incorporate that as a process in this particular process and report section. So as I said, this is again a demo environment. People tend to change or update. Sometimes they remove this template. Inside there is a RTF template and all. So they are going to remove. Let's see whether it is working or not. But this is the way to run it. But I'm just giving heads up that it may not work. Process start date. Okay, this next. You can go to next and all, or you can directly submit it. I just wanted to show you. Now don't worry if it goes into error, which is expected error. If it is working fine, lucky no one touches that standard report. Let's see. Yeah, looks like this is what I'm saying. Nothing is showing up because maybe they have it's success. That is success, but they might remove that template, and also we are unable to see that. Okay, so but yeah, that's why I have given some heads up to you, so that it may not show that values, but process is success. Then once you generate the payslip, the next process is make EFT payments. Okay. Yeah, make EFT payments. This process will actually generate a electronic payments file. You see, sometimes what happens when you run this process, your paid your status, when I say your employee's status will be changed to unpaid to paid, and depending on client to client, sometimes what happens, automatically a file will be generated and it will be sent to bank. Sometimes what happens, a file will be generated and you have to keep that bank server, server. And sometimes what happens, it generates a file, you will email that file to bank so that they will pay salaries. And depending on the client to client, the requirements will be different. Accordingly, you are going to build this process. Even sometimes what happens, we create our own payment, this one EFT payment process. Okay, so again you run it same way. You just select that, you can go to next, you select that, then which payroll, select process start date, See consolidation group. Because as I said, if you have multiple payrolls, you don't have to select the payroll here. It takes care about all the payrolls for this. So then payment method, you want it to, you see if you have any bank and check two different things, then you have to process this separately. Ours is bank transfer, this one. Yeah, this one. So pretty much that's it. So once you run this process, as I said, depending on the client requirement, we sometimes create custom process, and sometimes we use the standard process so that his payment status will be changed from unpaid to paid. Remember, when we run the prepayments process, it mapped whatever amount is supposed to pay, it maps to the corresponding bank account, but the status is unpaid, which I shown to you. So that status also will be updated to paid. With that, the payroll process is done. If you change, if that status is paid status, meaning the payroll is successful. I mean, it's done for the current payroll period. I don't know whether it shows. Sometimes it may, as I said again, this is a custom process. Yeah, you see this amount. Now it is, the status is showing as paid. Earlier it shows as unpaid. Remember, right? So when I click on this employee, you see now, earlier it shows as a unpaid. Now it's showing as a paid, meaning it paid to the bank account. I mean, this is a dummy. So usually a file will be generated. So that file will be transferred to bank or depending on the requirement. So you can go to actions. You can go to view result. You see here, reports will be generated. This is what I'm talking. So how many reports you have? EFT report, audit report, payroll direct deposit report. If I click on that, open that report. You see, this is the electronic file transfer, because this is one employee and this employee name, what amount, I think somewhere amount will be there. Yeah. And then you have bank account. Maybe I don't know the bank account, what bank account we enter, maybe this or this. So again, name, details. So this is how it's going to be paid. Again, if you go to EFT report, EFT report is not showing anything. As I said, again, these reports you have to develop, properly. This is an audit report. It shows blank or what? No, it should be generated. Yeah. You see, there is one employee. Two payments happened, meaning two employee salaries are, total amount. One employee got 2,000 change, another employee got 3,000 change. So this is the total amount. If you go to individual one, you see this person's bank, routing number, bank account, savings, net pay, what is the net pay, and you are going to send this report to your, I don't know, whomever you wanted to send. Source bank, from this bank account, you have to debit and you have to credit into this bank accounts. So all these things will be shown here. Okay. Then finally the process is transferred to subledger accounting. Even if I run it, it doesn't make any sense. Basically, it used to, if you are implementing the finance also along with payroll, then when you run the process, whatever entries we have here, they will be transferred to your finance. So we run this process, it got successful. Then why payslip? I think payslip template is when someone has removed or something. Yeah, generate payslips, we have run it. Anyway, you see, these are all standard US related reports. 1094 employer report, 1095 employee report. So these are all reports you can just explore. All these are reports only. Third party monthly extract report, tax report, costing report, data validation report, any payroll register. This is a register report. All earnings and deductions are going to be shown here. So everything is here. So again, W2 register, W2 archive, this one report, employee report. So these are all US specific reports. Like that, if you are working on UK legislation, the corresponding UK reports will be shown because we have selected here as a US legislation. And finally, the process is transfer to supplemental accounting. Yeah, this one. This will transfer all the payroll information to accounts. Okay. So this is all I have in payroll. Do you have any questions? I'm done with payroll. And in fact, I'm done with the training. So yeah.
Can you hear me clearly? Right?
Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Srini, whatever process that you have shown, first we need to calculate just to reiterate, we need to first run the calculate payroll process. Okay. Then we need to run prepayments, then archive payroll periods, then generate pay slips, and then EFT. And transfer only applicable if we are considering GL and accounts and all. Right. So my question here is, in the fourth steps that we are doing, generate pay slips. Now I also came from the ERP background, so there was a options where we send pay slip options, right? And there we need to give the employee's email address.
Right.
And if you click on the send pay slip, then many of these has happened in past because many of my other colleagues have by mistakenly they have clicked on that and it just added it to their personal email, and it was a huge escalations down the corner. So here in Fusion, if we want to, how this we can we can stop this, or how we can control this on if someone can send the pay slips to someone's email address, is that functionality here in Fusion we can see?
See, this is in the standard processes and all, these pay slips will not be sent automatically to their personal emails. They will not.
Okay.
They will just make it available in their employee self-service. That's it.
Okay.
If you want to send through emails and all, you have to go with your custom process. You have to develop a custom process.
So this standard will not be going to trigger any email to the personal accounts, right?
Right now, no.
Okay. And suppose we need to roll back the processes, the whole processes. Yes. Now, the rollback should be done in a sequential order that we have done. Let's suppose calculate payroll, then we need to roll back that. Then we need to roll back. It's like that, or it's just a one program or one process that we need to do?
No, it's one process. Look at this rollback process.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you are running, it will ask you which process you wanted to roll back.
Okay.
So is it a payroll process? Is it, if you search it, we have given a names, right?
Yes.
This is the reason I have given names. Suppose, calculate. I have given a name for that, right? So it's going to, you see here, this is the name that I have given.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, similarly, I have given for prepayments. This is the name. Which one? Calculate prepayments. So these two.
Okay. Yes.
You can select the process. You can roll back. Again, rollback is also you have to go with sequence.
Okay. That's fine. That's what I'm asking. And one more thing, there is no other process we need to run in just in a real-time scenario apart from this 6 processes. There is no other processes.
There are no, but if client they wanted to before sending this information to employee or anything, they wanted to check the audit and all, everything is processed perfect or not. Then obviously you will develop a custom process like gross to net report, calculation report, whatever reports that they want. You can run those process here, check it, and then you can go with second process.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Anyone else has any questions? Payroll, or not only payroll, the entire training. Any questions you can ask me? Okay, if not, any questions in formulas?
Srini, one more here, like absence entries regarding is it also part of payroll, right? In terms of processing and all?
No. Processing absence is different from payroll, but if you wanted to send that information to payroll, yes. You see, whenever you have any absence entry, so if you are sending your absence information to payroll, remember in absence plan, there is a checkbox called payroll integration, transfer absence information to payroll checkbox.
Okay.
Only that will be the integration between your absence and payroll. Now, when you apply unpaid leave, for example, so obviously you will enable that functionality in accrual plan. So the corresponding element you are going to create, again, this will be payroll responsibility to create that element and then attach that element to that plan and write a formula, whatever formula that you're going to.
Okay. So the reason I ask you because since I was so I was just thinking that that absence entries, that unpaid values that you mentioned, because that payments will not be done to the employees, right? So they indirectly it will consider as a payroll because the employee will not get that bit of salary which they have taken as an unpaid leave. That's why. So is there any other process we're going to run, or just an element which will do the work?
No, element will do the work. You don't have to run any process.
Okay.
Can you brief me about the casting of elements?
Sorry?
Casting of elements. Element casting. Actually, I skipped the class. I didn't hear the class. Can you brief me about this casting of elements?
See, when we are defining itself, did I miss that or what? See, in the payroll, I have I told you, right? You can define the cost codes in the payroll definition. Similarly, when we are defining elements also, let me go to element section. There is a casting in data you are going to enter. When I'm defining my payroll definition, there we enter we didn't enter. I shown you, okay, this is the place where you enter cost codes. Similarly, for elements, let me just open the element screen. Okay, what is our element? You open that element. This is element that we have.
Yes.
Here we have all the input values predefined. So whatever input value you wanted to go for casting, you have to select the corresponding input value. Suppose whatever amount we are paying, I want that to be casted. Select that input value. I think not here. You go to element eligibility. There I think we can select input values. Yeah, here. You can define casting information here. So you can just create a casting. Okay, I missed this one. See here you can say, okay, I want this to be casted or not casted. So if you say casted, you're going to enter the cast code here. Then you say transfer to this one. This transfer casting entries for payroll run results to general ledger. So you have to enable this checkbox to allow these entries to transfer. This will not automatically transfer your information to payroll. Again, you have to anyway run that transfer to sub-ledger accounting process. You have to run it. But if you enable this, meaning this allows you to transfer when you run that process. So you are going to enter the values and all here, input value and casted or not casted. This is the place where you enter the casting information. And once you go there, once you enable this checkbox, then only that information will be transferred after you run the costing of process, which I shown you, transfer to sub-ledger accounting. That process is mandatory to run it. Any questions in payroll or absence, or I mean, let's take formulas. I think you said you have doubts in formulas.
Yeah. Context function, I mean, change context, especially change context function.
So what is your doubt in change context?
The context function, I don't understand that context function. Can you explain about that? Maybe how it works and how it
I think I have change context. This is calling formula to another formula. Yeah, change context. See, the concept is, suppose in your formula, okay, I wanted to get my employee state or anything. Okay, so in this scenario, what we are trying to do in this particular scenario, we are trying to get employees location, employees home address, work location and all in the first formula. So in order to get that information in the formula, if you look at your EBS, I don't know how many people are from EBS. You cannot directly get that employees, that one or any graded and all. You are going to write some function in SQL and PLSQL, get that employee information, and then you are going to register that function in the Oracle. Then you use that function in your formula. I don't know how many of you are aware of that. That's how we do in EBS for fast formulas. But here, since we don't have access to database, we will not use SQL and PLSQL. Nothing is there. So Oracle has directly given this context functionalities. So what it does, we are setting up this assignment ID. These are the standard ones we have to know. When I am change context I'm using, there are certain database items we have to know, like assignment ID, effective date, address type, like that. So once we set that, you see, this assignment ID I am getting from employee ID. This is employee assignment ID. So I am telling the system that please set assignment ID to the employee assignment ID. Effective date is effective date, system date. Address type is main. So set these values to these things so that directly I can get. When I use this database item, I can directly get that corresponding employee's work location. This employee's, whatever assignment we are passing here, that employee's home address, that employee location, that employee work from home as of that date. So you are fixing the date, you are fixing the assignment ID, you are fixing the address type using the change context functionality. So first you set that context and then you are getting the values. You see here also, I mean, this is a different one. Somewhere I used change context, not here.
New level.
This one also. Same thing, I mean, same thing I just used here. You have to set certain values to these standard ones so that I can directly get it. If I don't write this, directly if I write these values, system will not understand. Yes, you said I want assignment location, I mean employee location. Which employee location? Which employee location I'm passing into this particular local variable? Which employee home address? Which employee location name? How does system know that this information belongs to which employee? That one we are setting here. We are setting assignment ID. Suppose there are 100 employees. This loop runs 100 times. First employee, second employee, third employee. It keeps on rotating and then it returns the values accordingly. When it is executing for me, it passes my assignment ID. When it is executing for you, it passes your assignment ID so that your values will be received into this local variables. If I don't write, what happens? If I don't write this statement, directly I'm saying, okay, I'll write this. Okay, fine. Location should be set to this. Whose location? You said per ASD location, meaning per means personal. Employee assignment location, address. Okay, fine. Which employee? System won't understand. So you have to first set that context, change context. Your by default assignment ID will be some X. So you are changing to an individual employee. That is the use of change context. Clear?
Yeah, quite clear. And also the round function used in the new 11th function. Round function. What is that for? Why are you using that round function?
Somewhere I used. Okay, round is used to round your value to nearest decimals. Suppose I am getting a value like 9.08126923. Like you have a lot of decimals. For example, I have 9 point like that. I don't want this much. I want it rounded to 2 values, 2 decimals. So when I use the round functionality 2 decimals, it rounds up to here. And if next value is more than 5, then automatically this value will become 0.24. That is the use of round.
It's a bit like floor function, right?
Floor is different. You see, floor is what? Floor is to remove this value entirely.
Okay.
Or it removes the integer value, it returns only this value. I think that also I have written somewhere. I'm saying I am rounding the value, accrual value into 2 decimals like 4.56, for example. Then if I am using a floor value, then what happens in this L floor, the value comes only 4, not 0.56 will be removed from your value. So my floor value will have 4. Decimal value is nothing but 4.56 minus 4. My decimal value will be 0.56. So I am separating these values. My value is 4.56. I am separating. Floor value is 4. Decimal value is 0.56. Because I want the decimal value. Based on the decimal value, I want certain calculations. Okay?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
When we take the database items, so we default them so that we don't get any error in compilation.
Correct.
And after that, we are taking some inputs. So
Right.
In one example, you take like that IV start date, IV end date. You defined them in as a database item, and you took that as an input.
Right.
And in another example, you took like the recent one, the extract rule one, you took some local variables as inputs. So I got confused, like what things are we taking as inputs, and
Now,
where
local
are they
variables can never be taken as inputs. Local variables are meant to be used in the local formula. So when I say inputs, it's directly coming from the wherever I attach this first formula. So nowhere you see local variables are used as inputs.
And in that extract rule one, you took that L assignment date, LID.
1
So I
second.
thought that L is
This
for
one?
local.
This is not local
Yes,
variable.
effective
This is
date.
assignment ID coming from, it's extract rule basically. This is not any formula. I mean, this is not any formula type we attach to directly to any, in absence functionality or anywhere. This is only extract rule. I can use this formula anywhere, not only in absence, but payroll that benefits anywhere. Especially whenever I create any formula with the type as extract rule, I am using that everywhere. So when I'm using that, so this effective date, basically I used this particular value is written. I'm using this, basically I'm using this one into another formula. If you say, there it is. See here, I am using this formula, right? This formula I am calling here, correct?
Yeah.
Now, because why I have input value here is local variable, because I am sending that value input to that value. So effective date I am setting as a system date. Whatever effective date I have, current system date, I am passing that effective date into this variable. this variable I am sending as input. So meaning it's the input value for this formula. It's not a local variable here. Okay. If I am not using this formula anywhere and I don't pass this information like that, then system will throw an error. There is no, these are all local variables. System thinks they're the local variables, and then, you can't input that use the local variables. It's input for this formula because I am sending them as an input here. Okay.
Okay. And like in some formulas we have taken input values, and in some we haven't. So it depends on whether the user is entering any value there where the formula is.
Right. Because you see, when I'm applying absence, obviously employee applies start date and end date. So I'm taking them because I want them to be used in my formula. So directly I have taken them. I don't want, suppose some of the formulas I don't need any input values. Here I don't have any input values. I don't want. Based on database item, I wanted to calculate eligibility. So I don't use input values at all. It's not mandatory to use input values, but it's mandatory to define database items if you are using in your formula. Clear?
Yeah. And actually, one more doubt I had. For formula calling, you use two functions. So one is call formula and another is execute.
Right.
And in that you gave the name of the formula you are calling. So what is the difference between these two functions?
Where I have used only execute.
When you are teaching, you said that one call formula can also be used to call another formula.
Yeah, I mean, you can directly use call formula and open bracket and just put it like that. I mean, it's multiple ways to do it.
The function is same.
Yeah, functionality remains same. So if you are using, you see, everywhere I use execute only. But as I said, it's up to you how you want it to use. Generally, I use execute. Directly, I will say, is it executable? Please execute it.
Yeah, you used execute in all the examples, but you said that we can use call formula. So
we can. You see, if you look at Oracle delivered ones, look at that. So if you are using call formula, there you have to define formula and what are the inputs. Also, you are defining in the same statement. You got it, right? So these are the input values you are sending into this formula. This one sent to that, this one sent to that, this one sent to that, like that. Inputs and outputs, everything you are going to use in the same line. But if you are using execute, you cannot. If I'm inputting, I'm separately, set input, I'm inputting this value into that, inputting in value into that, then I'm executing formula. So whenever I use set input and execute, it will take previous inputs into inputs as into this particular execute. So if you are using execute, then you define this is a syntax to use. If you use call formula, this is the syntax you use. Functionality remains same. The way you are using is different. That's it.
And set input, we are sending the input values to that other formula, and get output, we are bringing the return variables from there.
Yes, return variables. Yes, get output. Yeah, where is that? I think there is. Yeah, get output. Yes.
These are the return variables from that called formula.
Yeah, from this formula, if you look at that output, I am returning grade. So this one you are getting into this.
And can you please once explain what is that get context?
Where is get context here?
No, not this. In some other example.
I said change context.
Just set context, get context, and change context. So
change context is I am changing the values into some other values.
Okay.
Set context, set input is there. There's.
You said set context is rarely used. You use set input now.
We have change context. Get context is you are not okay. Get context is the system date, suppose if you are using system date and all, you are going to use that get context. Look at that. If I'm using get context, meaning absence entry ID, what is the absence entry ID currently I have that I wanted to send it to here? I am not setting anything here. So whatever value is there in this, I am just directly getting that value, that context value into this particular local variable. That is a get context. Set context is not set context. Change context is you are actually setting that as a context to the standard variable. Okay.
And this get context, this absence entry ID, we are taking it from the database item.
That one I'm sending into local variable.
Okay.
So when I'm using context, it automatically says to whomever this particular formula is executing, that employee's absence entry ID will be receiving here. If I don't use get context directly, I will use like this: L absence entry ID is equal to get absence entry ID. Which absence ID? Who is the person? Who is the employee? So I said all. So I said get context. So whomever it is executing, those people's entry ID will be coming into this ID.
And the local variables we use, we define it there in the formula itself. And like this global variable, we are bringing some value from outside other database items.
Right.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. I got everything I wanted to ask.
Fine, no problem. Anyone else has any questions?
Srini, just one question here. I just have if I need to do the payroll related practices. So this is something, the URL that you are working on, we can use the same URL, right?
No. That URL, check with Ravi on that.
Okay. Team, can you help me here? Because I've dropped in message on chat also. If you can just ping me the instance name where you are practicing, it will be great help. Because I already dropped an email to them, but I didn't get any response. So team, someone can just
Anyone has any questions, formulas? Okay, so if everything is fine, then that's it from my side for the entire training. Yeah, I'm good to close. Thank you everyone.